Okay, we'll call a meeting to order on August 2nd, 2022 at 6 o'clock. We got on the agenda is board member roll call, approval of agenda, approval of minutes, discussion regarding possible ordinance of enforcement ideas, municipal planning grant continued discussion, old business, public comment, and then adjourn. I want to do roll call first, so Fred, go ahead, and then we'll go back to the agenda.
Fred Miller,
Stacy Boxer.
James Winchester.
Brian Harris. I think Michelle was still muted.
Yeah,
so you
you
couldn't hear her.
got your mute off.
Yeah, because I got a lot of
There you
people
go.
on this, so, Michelle Peckrell.
And Jimmy, you there you go.
Jim Winchester.
Brian Harris.
And I'm John Bashy. All right, to the agenda, approval of agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
There's a second?
Second,
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Oh, you got asked for discussion.
Any discussion on it?
Yes, I would like to add for approving the minutes for July 7th or June 7th to the agenda.
Yes, you got those.
yeah,
Yes, we'll add that to it.
Send them to Michelle.
We have them now. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on it? We're gonna add June 7th minutes. We had to postpone those last time. Everybody all set with that? And
Any other discussion?
Discussion?
I move.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye, we gotta do roll call because there's one on.
Fred?
Fred Miller, aye.
Stacy Boxer, aye.
Michelle Peckrell, aye.
Aye. Jim.
Brian Harris, aye.
John Bashy, aye. Okay. And we'll go to June 7th.
I thought that's one we just did was June 7th.
No, we had the agenda.
Oh, that was approved.
Agenda.
Sorry. One step ahead.
So we're going to the June 7th of 2022 minutes. Take a quick look through those. If I know you're going to abstain from it anyway. We didn't have the 4 at the time.
There needs to be a change on one call to order. Says MG called the meeting to order, it was JB.
Okay.
Good catch, Fred.
Who's MG?
That's Mike Gardner, he's
Oh, he was,
select board chair.
was he here?
No, he wasn't here. It is just a typo.
Yeah, we got a typo on that. So,
Minutes for all of
Yeah.
these.
okay. Anything else on that? Anybody notice anything? Any discussion on it?
I don't see anything.
This is the 19th?
No, this is for June 7th.
June
Okay.
7th one.
Yeah. I approve of it.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Fred?
Fred, aye.
Stacy Boxer, I have to abstain, I wasn't here.
Oh, that's right, yeah, you just.
Yeah, you just have to say you abstained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abstain.
Abstain,
Jim's yes.
Brian, aye.
And John, aye. Okay, approve that. And then minutes of July 19, 2022. Oh, we got the same situation here.
We have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Same situation. We're not gonna be able to do this one tonight.
I'm not.
Just the three of us.
We got, Michelle was out, Jimmy was out, and Brian was gone, so
So
there's only 3 of us here. So we need 4.
If Megan were here, you could do it.
Right, if Megan was here, yep.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, we need 4 out of the numbers.
Yeah.
So we'll do this one next meeting. All right, we're gonna have to postpone that one. Let's move on to discussion regarding possible ordinance enforcement ideas. And what this is about, basically, want to talk about some kind of enforcement if we're for the, our ordinance, if it goes through, what do we have? What kind of suggestions can we put in that would help for enforcement, ways to enforce it, possible people to enforce it, positions, whatever, that kind of thing.
I suggest
We got Brian here, that's great.
it's a legal answer.
It's gonna help, we'll take that back to him. Him take it back to him after.
Yeah.
That's right. I will discuss it with myself.
A lawyer's looking it over though, right?
So the lawyer has looked it over. The select board actually adopted it the other night at the last meeting. So we are moving forward with the process. But as an executive, I would like you to brainstorm ideas on how we move forward as far as enforcing and kind of putting people's feet to the fire when it comes to, we find you, we said you can't do this. What if they don't voluntarily comply? What if they say, well, no, I'm leaving it that way? What's next?
What's our next step?
Right. And there's just a discussion on it. This isn't no enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, it's still got to go to the public hearings and
Right.
input, so this could get kicked back and
Right.
changed and.
Right.
Assuming it doesn't get to that point where someone just says, I'm just not gonna do it, you know,
Right.
sue me or whatever. I think a nice friendly letter would be the first route, rather than someone knocking on somebody's door.
Public notice first.
Good public notice.
A friendly, you
Yeah,
know, letter.
that's after, I think first, we need to really make sure it's public knowledge. And the public is aware of what we passed.
You mean as far as when the ordinance, if it is finally adopted, it goes into effect?
Yeah.
Okay,
They need to be aware of it,
so are you suggesting
all the parameters of it.
maybe spending the money and doing like a mailer?
But a postcard or something?
Mailers, postcard, mention during meetings.
I mean, best case scenario, we're still months away from this
yeah.
being adopted.
Yeah.
Best case scenario.
Yeah. But I think it needs to go through the community, word of mouth, gossip, whatever. It has to be on people's minds. And the true nature of it will be out there for people to find it and know and understand it and be ready.
Well, I'm not opposed to doing a small mailer, you know, postcard size. I mean, I know
Yeah.
mailers, you're quite a chunk of money. Tara could,
It might, it'd be beneficial to do that. We might.
I do think it would be.
But what does it cost to do a postcard? What does it cost to do a postcard to the whole town?
I don't know exactly right offhand, but
I want to say, I think when we priced it before for doing about the town hall vote, I think it was going to be like a couple $1,000s by the time it was done.
we may be able to warn the public hearing and start letting people know about it. You know, each time we have a hearing about it, we can also inform people of what we are discussing and that kind of stuff, but also a mailer.
I think outreach to landlords,
Yeah,
because they're gonna be probably the first, in a lot of cases, they're gonna be
yes.
the first people approached or talked to about
What's going on?
their
Yeah,
tenants.
for tenants, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
But
opposed to that
this is
either.
not holding, I think the good thing about this is it's not holding landlords ultimately responsible. It's actually holding citizens, the tenants, who are determined they're gonna just tell the landlord to F off and.
Yeah, because we've all heard the stories about
Heard that.
landlords supplying garbage cans and the tenants just refuse to use it and throw it out in the yard.
There needs to be consequences. And
So-
they need to know there's consequences and it's real.
Well, I think we all agree on that. So if, I think we're in agreement that we'll do a mailer and the public notices. So what are we gonna do as far as enforcement? Like, how are we going to approach enforcement?
Like Stacy mentioned,
I think once you find these specific places, let's, whether it's 5, 10, I don't know how many people are, in violation. I would suggest just sending a friendly, letter, not even certified or anything like that,
Like a first step letter.
Yeah. Kind of like a documented warning, be like, hey, we've taken
Dear
notice, like,
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, somebody has made a complaint and we've noticed that there's rubbish, visible from the road. This is in violation of a new ordinance that was just passed in the town.
maybe some next steps.
Just so they know they're on
Contact
notice.
for further
And
information.
maybe that's all it takes.
I'd like to see prior knowledge throughout the community and actually people taking care of things before. It would be nice.
maybe with that notice, like include the hours of operation and a price list for the town transfer station.
That kind of information.
Yeah, we
too,
can,
could, yeah.
we can develop a whole flyer with information like that, where to get rid of certain things and
Yeah, let people know that recyclables are free, scrap metal is free.
what's free and what to do with it. There's like mattresses and tires are a big.
How about also if there's a financial burden, maybe we can somehow help.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say also in the letter, maybe put something like, you have questions, you need assistance, for them to reach out so they don't just get a letter and think that, they're kind of in the weeds by themselves. Cause a lot of people are older or have some sort of family issues or whatever, they may be afraid to reach out for help.
Yep.
And I think too is, we should be basing this on nobody gets informed, meaning when we're doing these hearings, most people aren't watching, town's not watching. So assume that no one's hearing about it. So we have to approach it in that direction, that they didn't even hear that there's an ordinance in place. So we have to base it off of the idea that they didn't hear it.
But if they got a postcard first, they did.
Right.
yeah, but people can always still claim ignorance. I
didn't
mean,
get it.
They do.
and ultimately, I think we will have some of that, I'm sure. But I mean, I want to be compassionate to people, and I like yours and Michelle's suggestion that, maybe we can offer some kind of like a one-off assistance. And I think that had been suggested before in previous meetings.
I think it needs to be talked about where people can actually hear it being talked about too, because relying on people to read even a postcard and understand everything that they read, you can't assume that that's going to happen with all cases. So a way to keep it, just get the buzz going in town somehow.
I can, ask my son to make a little, commercial type.
Little commercial.
thing.
Yeah.
Something we can
Something we-
post on the website.
Maybe they don't read it, but they might think, ooh, this looks neat. It's like, what's this video? You know what I mean?
So the postcard could also say, look at the website.
And
Video.
like Tara suggested, we could do a flyer with all the information and see if like Village Market and Stewart's and all them will let us just kind of put a stack of them next to the register.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick up place, yep.
I mean, I don't want to ask Mr. Winchester. I hear he can be kind of a jerk when it comes to that.
I rest my case. You're not alone.
So we're figuring on a mailer, some kind of mailer. I guess we're all pretty much on that idea.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea.
So I have a question. So the mailer is gonna have info on when the meetings are, correct? And what else in the mailer?
Well, I think this is initially a postcard, no?
Or postcard, yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on how much information we're going to try to put into it. I mean, if we're going to try to include everything into it, maybe at least the bullet points off the ordinance, it might have to be something a little larger.
Is there a draft of the ordinance on the website?
It is, yes, but it's included in the minutes. I could do something a little different so it's more
But
obvious.
say if there's
They're corresponding like this size,
Yes.
humongous.
if there's a draft on the website that people can read, we can include the web address on the postcard or the mailer. so people can go there and read it.
Right. I think just the cost wise, I think the smallest we can, but
Yeah.
try to plug those bullet points in to look. Here's a website, here's this.
Maybe
Right.
have,
This is what we're trying to do.
maybe we can have a small stack of copies available free to the public, like right in the foyer out
That,
there.
that could be a bigger one, the ones that we post out.
Yeah.
But the one to mail, I think just to have a small one to look at these locations,
Yeah.
something like that.
I do know some people and, probably have to get to the landlords in the trailer park that don't read. They can't read. I know several people that can't read. So the landlord has to be the one to put out the message to them.
Right.
Or have someone go around and say, you're breaking the law right now. And, because they won't read anything.
Yeah.
And another thing along with that is time frame. What are we looking at time to do all that stuff? Once it's approved, everything.
Well, I believe we have to give 30 days notice for a public hearing. And then we got to do 2 hearings and we can have them as little as what, 3 days apart?
I have to look. I'm still.
I think that's what it was.
I have a checklist.
So we're ready to do the public hearing?
I have a checklist. I have to, go through the checklist.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know there's a process to it. And then even after the last public hearing, then it comes back, and then even after it's finally voted on, then you have to give 90 days, I believe, or something like that for it to go into enforcement. Because you have to give the public a chance to file essentially a petition to call it for a vote, a public vote. If they get enough signatures, they can have it repealed before it goes into effect.
And essentially,
Chance
if
of
we're
that
looking at
happening.
It depends. I mean, it's not unheard of.
it could be it just goes to vote and people decide on it that way.
Yeah.
It's all differences. But you're looking at a time frame of not really having any effectiveness of this going until spring of next year. You're not
Yeah.
gonna-
I would say at least until after the first of the year.
Yeah.
At best. I mean, maybe
And it's not gonna be a
instead
whole
of
lot.
trying to, we could potentially try to throw it on the ballot for March and just put it up to a public vote.
What about November?
I don't think we'd have enough time to be able to get it on the ballot for November. We don't have enough time to give it all the.
I mean, if it goes through the normal process, it would get voted in and nobody petitions on it. It's going to go through before then anyway.
I think there's only historically that I can remember been one issue that was voted on. Yes.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about a public vote on this.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be that kind of
I don't think.
No, I don't think it will either, because it's not, it's pretty narrow in scope and it's obvious what we're trying to accomplish.
right.
You know,
I think everybody that's compliant would approve.
Right. They're going to approve to it. Yeah.
And if we do our work, do it right, we can present this to the community in a very non-threatening way.
we're not doing this to like,
Hopefully get
the
people excited
little
about it.
guy. We're trying to do this to help
Get people to help out.
The whole community,
Help
the whole
inform other
community in
people
general.
and offer to help somebody who needs help.
I think enough people have come to us wanting something like this.
Oh,
That we all do.
I don't know about you guys, but I hear something every day, every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
What do you hear?
People saying that the town needs to do something to get properties cleaned up. And certain properties are cited time and time again.
Right. I can't believe it takes this long to do it though.
Welcome to civic government.
It's a longer process to do something like
Yeah.
this than it is to put a permit in.
Yeah.
It really is.
I don't remember the guy in Municipal. That's been 30, 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just this town, it's every town has.
Yeah.
Has issues with doing stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so assuming we do the notices,
Yeah.
mailers, flyers, stuff handed out, web postings, web video, all that good stuff. Assume we get all that done. We do all the public notices. There's no changes. It gets voted and goes into effect. Once it goes into effect, you and Michelle are suggesting we do for the first notice to a property owner, we either do a knock on the door, friendly conversation, or a letter with helpful information on how they can dispose of their refuse and, resources that they're encouraged to reach out to us for help. Am I summarized this correctly so far?
So far.
I just want to make sure I wrote nothing out.
Pretty close.
Because I'm thinking I got some short notes.
Just they knock on the door as opposed.
I feel I think that should be a second step.
The knock on the door,
Right.
do the letter first?
A letter first,
Okay.
informing them of
Specific
what's
letters to these
happening, that
people.
they were notified.
To these
or
people,
That there was a warning on them or
Yeah,
a
there'd been a
notification
complaint.
on them.
Yeah.
That's what the letter would, I think, should state the first time out. It's just a, like he's saying, a friendly letter, but it's because of somebody complained about something there.
Okay,
And then that letter's letting them know that there's been a complaint, this and this, and this is what
because
would
the
remedy.
ordinance is targeting not just private property owners, but businesses as well.
Them as well,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
Yes. And it would
Okay.
just be a friendly letter stating that there was a complaint about the property and what would have to
So-
remedy that situation. Would this stuff need cleaned?
So letter for first notice,
If nothing gets
including, include the offer of
a
assistance.
phone number for somebody to call as to what you
Yeah.
should do. Whose number is gonna be there?
I would
That's
say
what we-
either the zoning enforcement officer or the town administrator or executive assistant. Yeah. So we'll just include the town hall. We'll
want
include the
that.
town hall number.
She's like, I want
It may be
this.
Tom Shuey's number in case they have questions on what they can and can't dispose of. So we'll just include general information and we can hammer that out.
They're asking like, what do I need to get rid of on my front porch, you know?
Whatever the
Can
complaint.
you answer that if somebody calls?
Yeah, she can.
They can leave the lawnmower, but the trash has to go?
Yeah.
So I would like to have a brief discussion. How do we want to enforce this? Are we gonna be proactive about this and actually have somebody going out and looking, or are we gonna do this as a reactive basis and only do it on complaints?
I think reaction basis right now, because I think it would get flooded with people just running around trying to do it. I don't think that's,
Well, what do you mean by people? Who's,
Yeah, well, that would be the next thing is like, who would we appoint to it? Because at this point, you would almost could create a part-time position for it.
right, that's.
I mean, unless we want to piggyback and split the duties between like, say, our zoning administrator and our health officer.
Stacy makes a point here, though. You can keep the lawnmower, right? But you can't keep, the trash has to go. So we're after trash.
Yeah, it's specifically
But
household
I mean,
waste.
you know.
Right, that's it.
That's the point we're making when we're after
Yeah.
black bags and trash.
We're not stopping you from having a tractor in your front yard.
Things that could be,
Scraps and recycle.
Maybe in time that'll happen, but right now we're after.
Heck, I'm not even opposed to a toilet with a flower pot in the middle of it, because I think that's kind of funny.
That's in New York, I see a whole 3 acres of it.
there's a difference if it's art versus something that just got thrown out there that could be
Yeah.
a health risk or drawn vermin or something like that.
Exactly.
That's the bigger part.
So it's obviously gonna be household waste. Okay, so,
But yes, as far as who, that's the big question.
so even if we do it as a reactive measure and we wait till a complaint comes in, we still have to task somebody
To
and
that.
designate that person with the statutory authority to be able to issue
Right.
however we decide to penalize this or enforce it.
Well, it can't be just a citizen, it has to be someone that's.
Yeah, it's gotta be somebody that's appointed. We can't just pick somebody random and say, tag, you're it.
Right.
Right.
And it's got to be somebody that we can,
So I'm thinking.
I don't want to see somebody doing it that's
Crude and rude.
hot-headed or
Yeah.
ready
Yeah.
to go and say, let's just start finding it. I just think
I would like somebody with
needs to-
some compassion,
That's why I like
good
the
people
idea.
skills.
Right.
So,
No, yeah.
no, we're not looking at you because we're
We don't want
nominating
you on the
you.
street, though. You know, go with phone.
Honestly, I mean, if a woman goes up to people and talks nicer, people present that differently than a guy coming up to them and doing.
less likely to have a shotgun pointed at you?
Certainly, it's all in the approach.
Yeah, I got
Oh, definitely.
you. Yeah.
But definitely we need somebody to do that, whether.
So are we thinking then that we might want to suggest to the select board, create a position?
If
Two positions.
I think we could start with that, maybe start with the health officer and zoning as initial things get started, but if we can create a position prior to that. I mean, this may not be in effect till 90 days.
Well, I mean, this is gonna be a legal ordinance enforceable under civil penalties. Which means it can go to court.
Yeah, but if the person doesn't want to pay, what are you gonna do?
Well, that's what we're leading into.
So what are you gonna ultimately put a lien on their property? That's all you can really do.
Well, I
If you
mean,
get fined-
ultimately, any law is enforced at, you know,
If you get a fine and you don't pay it and the town seeks to have to go after it to collect it, which is probably gonna happen at some point in time here,
so,
that's enforceable.
yeah,
It's gonna have
ultimately
to
it
go
could
forward,
lead
and
to
then
that.
if you get to judgment, you would attach. the
Yeah,
town
ultimately it would
could
be attach a lien on the property.
Right, but so if they're not gonna sell or, you know, so you've got a lien on the property.
Well,
Let's hope it doesn't get to this point, okay?
well, the difference, I think,
Ultimately,
on
there's not a lot you can do.
a town lien, though, I think it's different. You could put that to like, towards the tax lien on it. So that would go up, if you don't pay on it within so amount of time, it would go to a tax sale. So you'd have to pay.
Would the mortgage holder be notified?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a mortgage on them, they all have to be
So
notified.
that's a little bit more discomfort.
And I'm pretty sure most mortgage lien holders, like that puts you in default of your mortgage if you
Right.
allow something like that to happen.
Right, so if there's a mortgage, then there's a problem, but
Yeah.
if someone doesn't have a mortgage and they have no intention of selling,
It goes like you said, the tax.
It would go to a tax lien.
Yeah.
If,
Then it
It
might take a couple of years, but
It's attached to a tax lien and it would eventually get paid.
Their tax bill goes up and up and up.
Right.
You don't get that to that situation, you don't want to pay extra taxes, just
Yeah.
take care of your garbage.
I don't believe most people are gonna go that.
yeah, I don't think it's gonna go that route. I mean, I think
We
the
had
key,
to have something in steps.
We could even have somebody go in if they have a problem that pick up the stuff.
Right. That's pretty much what it is.
Most people aren't that aggressive where they would be PO'd about this thing.
Right.
And say, well, it's gonna be this, I'm just gonna not do it.
Right.
Okay, so-
Most are not gonna be happy about it, but they're gonna wind up.
so we'll do,
But a lot will, if you present it the right way, they'll be okay with it.
so first notice will be just a letter.
Right.
So what do you want to give, like 30 days after the first letter? How long do you want to give in between notices?
no more than,
Because we have to come up with the steps.
about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
We could do 2 weeks.
If you had an eviction by town or by state law, if you have an eviction, it's 20 days.
So first notice by mail.
So 20 to 30 days.
Including, which includes who to contact, who to talk to.
Yeah,
They have to
All that-
call,
yeah,
they
so all
have
that
to
is on,
call
yeah.
somebody based on this letter.
Right.
yeah.
If you don't call anyone, then
No response.
we're knocking on the door next.
So second notice is 2 weeks later.
Yeah, safety valve.
And we're gonna say the second notice is that's when somebody goes and knocks on the door?
Yes, I
Okay.
think so. You're already sent the letter. If it don't respond to the letter, then the next step is go door to door.
And do you deliver a notice of some sort when they go door to door? Or do they just go to talk to them? Or what do you think the process should be?
I would hope it's a talk to them, but if they're obviously they don't, nobody answers the door, you'd have to leave. So I would think.
Right,
leave
yeah, I
something.
would say that, yeah, if nobody's there to talk, a notice needs to be left and, photographed or whatever, so there's a record.
Yeah, yeah, they would, I feel that they should keep going back until they catch up with somebody. It might be troublesome to have to go back several times maybe, but it's physical talk as what's needed, I think, at the second point.
And I don't think we can discuss any further than that right now. So we don't know what's gonna happen.
Well, no, I mean, we can discuss it. We're just gonna offer suggestions and ideas on
Right.
how it's gonna be approached. Because as a select board member, we are looking for input. Like, we're just 5 people on the select.
through.
We want input. Oh. All right, so first notice,
Right, but what kind of input can we give you after somebody has knocked on the door? We don't know how that goes.
you mean how they
How
respond?
they respond
Well,
to,
it's gonna be, in my mind, it's one of 2 things. 1, they comply, 2, they don't. 1, they comply, issue's over. 2, they don't comply. In my mind, at that point, it's like, all right, well then you now have say another
So much-
second notice, you have 2 weeks, get it cleaned up. If it's not cleaned up in 2 weeks, we're gonna start issuing a fine. And then in my mind, we have to then set fine levels and then enforcement for that. That's my idea. Like I said, I want input from as many people as possible.
That's where I'm at too, I believe. Once you make those first steps, the second step, I base this off of, if I had to do an eviction, it's the same kind of idea. You give them notice first, they don't pay up, you go see them, they still don't pay up, you have to notify them, you're gonna be so many days to do it, and then you start eviction.
Yep.
So that's pretty much the process, and if they want to go through that.
I mean, I know it was suggested before that, instead of fining people and then it's still not getting cleaned up, I know it was suggested before that perhaps the town contract with somebody, clean the property up and then just attach the bill to their tax bill. That way,
That's, I think that always.
instead of finding somebody and they still have to clean it up, you take care of the problem and now they have a bill to pay for and.
I was just thinking that very thing. It's like, that's, I don't know if that's the second step or third step. Second step.
I don't want to jump right to that because I don't want to see the town go into a de facto municipal trash right now.
But how are you gonna send a contractor to somebody's porch and start cleaning stuff up? They're gonna start throwing things away and
Dog bite you.
the people are gonna complain you threw away something that was valuable. I don't know. I don't know
So
how that's gonna go.
these are questions that we would then have to send to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns and ask them, under what statutory authority could we do this? Is it possible? Then having to craft language and have it cleaned up by the lawyer to make it legal.
And I think if it's going to that stage, maybe a certified letter would go first.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, like the first notice that we send out by mail, I'm thinking like that should be certified letter. Because that way you start the clock. Because everything is gonna go back to that first point of contact.
Right.
When did you first notify the landowner? Or the tenant, whoever?
Yeah, I think that should be your next step after the door-to-door conversation. If it doesn't get cleaned up, that's when you're starting the clock. That this is, now you're sent out to legal. This is you're served with that as what you got to start doing. And then at that point, if it's not done, you get to the next finding stage.
It's me with bad checks. First you talk to the person, blah, 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 blah. And then you tell the state police advise you to write the certified letter. And say if anybody picks it up, they don't pick it up, blah, 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 then they make a visit. But, pretty much the same process. We can't involve the state police in this, but, wish we could.
Yeah, because it's a civil matter. I think about the most we'd be able to do is like pay the sheriffs to serve a summons.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see it go that far and I'm hoping it doesn't.
I hope it doesn't either.
Yeah, we don't want to see it go down into that steps.
Yeah, I don't want to, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole and make it sound like, the first thing we're going to do is try to seize your property. But unfortunately, if we're going to have the enforcement on this, we have to have all that drawn out ahead of time.
It's gonna be very rare.
It is going to be rare.
There's gonna be somebody that wants to test.
I hate to say it like this, but I think when it does happen
Let them pass
to
the
a few
test.
property owners.
A letter to
then
the
it takes
editor,
more
I
time.
got this and that, and I look at this place and that place, why did they pick me up? And then you wind up, letters to the editor, drive you nuts.
I just have a question, just because I was getting interrupted. If we do hire, if it comes down that we can hire service to go in and clean up, if that's legal and whatever, like you're saying, people be like, oh, you're throwing my stuff out. Is that something where we would have the sheriff, maybe if we hire the sheriff to kind of be there as a,
Be there. Yeah.
I would almost think we would have to.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think we would be within our right, and I might be wrong, and this is why I say we would have to contact Vermont League of Cities and Towns and contact our lawyer. But I think at that point, all of costs incurred by the town, we can attach to the part of the property line. Because I don't want to see this turn into the town has to cover a $30,000 bill every time we go to clean up somebody's property.
Yeah, I just think for safety, it might be better to have the sheriff on the
Sure.
side. Yeah. Because because something happens, bigger bill that we have to pay in lawsuits if something really goes wrong. I think we really need a third party.
Yeah, like if it came to us doing cleanup, I do agree. I think we would have to ask the sheriffs to send one or two down,
Yeah,
kind of supervise.
yeah, basically. Yeah.
For the protection of the person, yeah.
And what do we have for a crew to do that? That would be another thing. Do we have a road crew guy, or is it we can hire somebody, a local?
Yeah, I think you would want maybe somebody out of the community,
Well, I was almost thinking like maybe like
outside of the community, I mean.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know, that's a tough one. Like, I don't want to keep ballooning the cost, but my thought was at first, like we'd have the transfer station guys do it, but they're just a part-time crew that's what they do is run the transfer station. So my other thought was, do we put something out to bid to have a contractor or refuse collector basically on standby that,
We'll go do it.
you're the dedicated one, you've bid on it, whether they do it by price range or however they do it with the understanding that
See the mess.
get an estimate from them.
And I think putting it out to bid would be good. That way we'd at least have a known price structure based on, I mean, obviously it's something they do all the time, so they would know of like hours and things like that. Then we would definitely always have like at least a budgeted ballpark
Yeah.
number for cleanups.
Yeah, because they can let you know how many, how much they charge per pound or square
Right.
yardage,
Yeah,
hourly rate of
hourly.
employees.
Are any of these properties vacant? So we wouldn't have an issue like that?
I think there's some.
There might be some.
It could be, again, that's why I think it should go by a complaint that came in about it first.
So if there's a complaint, it's a vacant property, and the property owner is not responding, can we just hire somebody to clean it up and call it a day?
No,
Tax bill
Yeah.
you would have, I think you have to go through this.
to an individual, the tax bill.
Yeah,
Oh,
because even in an abandoned property that the taxes aren't being paid on,
Then it gets to.
will get auctioned off.
Right.
Already, so somebody's paying property taxes. Like, I know there's one over by me that looks abandoned, but tax has been kept current the last 40 years.
really?
Yeah. You got a mess down the racetrack, the taxes are being paid.
Yep.
And again, whoever's on that tax bill is gonna get the
Clean that
letter.
place up.
Whoever's on that tax bill will get the letters
Right.
to clean up if there's something there that people see. So.
Yeah.
What's happening with
And I
that?
mean, they might appreciate a vacant lot when they're done with
There's some comments.
but they probably won't like that when they go to sell it, they've got to raise
You got something to say.
$1,000.
Whatever it might be.
It's been said before.
Again, we're just
I
playing.
think those are gonna be the rare exceptions. I
Rare
don't think that's gonna be the rule, and I don't wanna get bogged down
Right.
thinking that, this is gonna be the end of the world for everybody.
No, I don't foresee it going. You might have,
I think there's gonna be a handful of cases
If
where
we
we're
got
gonna
a
have to
handful.
follow through.
Oh, yeah. But then when you win your cases, you'll follow through. It isn't gonna really begin in the springtime, really.
right, it's springtime before anything's
Yeah.
gonna.
But realistically, even spring.
Poor Michelle. She's doing like 10 things at once there.
It's good. Okay.
I've never seen Michelle turn that
Never seen
around.
her blush before.
Hey, it's a
And
sign.
we have a show in Boston tonight, and everybody keeps talking and.
All right, so a mailer, a knock on the door notice. Are we thinking the knock on the door notice be something served by the sheriff? Or do you want to just do like whoever we're gonna have
Whoever
like
do that,
local
I think
enforcer?
whoever's enforcement's gonna
There's
be.
a friendly knock on the door, right?
Right, friendly knock.
Yeah,
That's just another, the next step.
I think maybe with the first notice, maybe a line that says response required.
Right.
You know?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
No, they got it. If
Right.
they need help, they
Okay.
can ask for
Right.
help. And get.
Right, if they don't,
Yeah,
if they
that-
don't respond,
Yeah.
then
yeah, with the first step, I think it needs to lay out what the process is going forward from that letter.
What we're looking for.
Respond
yeah,
to it.
include the contact information, what the ordinance is,
Right.
and then like, if failure to
Copy.
respond, this is what will follow.
Right, and a copy of the junk how, where to get rid of it again and what
Yeah.
needs to go and those kinds of things. That would, I think that when I say first step
A
letter,
lot of things can be put in that
a
envelope.
lot of things can be put into it, whatever needs to be done for each property. And each property is going to be different and not all going to be the same. So,
Include a stamped envelope
sure.
for response.
So then after the 2 weeks later, you do the knock on the door, then how long do you suggest we give before we take next step?
I think same thing.
Another 2
couple
weeks?
again to take that step. Again, the attorney's going to clarify how many days we probably should do, but
I think
a couple-
unless they call and say, I've, started, I'm
Right.
in a dumpster, but I can't get it for another week or,
Yeah.
then that'll be the person who's in charge of doing this. We'll just say, okay, cool.
Yeah, like I'm perfectly fine if somebody's making a good faith effort.
Yeah.
Not doing anything and let them do their thing while they make a good faith effort.
Right.
I'm in the hospital, blah, blah, blah,
Even
blah.
if they take weeks or months,
Right.
if they're doing something,
Yeah, as long as there's obvious progress and they're trying,
Yeah. I'll give you an example.
everybody's gonna be happy with that.
I'll give you a good example. My mom's property up here, I'll pick on her. We had a tenant that did scrap metal business. And now that his permit went out, he doesn't have it no more. Somebody called on him and the state came down. They found out he didn't have the permit now. So he's been cleaning up. He's spent all summer now doing it. But it's 99% done right now. He's got almost all the stuff gone.
Yeah.
So and the state stopped back down, had a chat with me about it, and they said, they could buy, he's been cleaning. They had no more concerns. It's a done deal. It's over with for as far as they're concerned. So.
Because progress is being made.
Right, it's being made and they were happy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still stuff that needs to be done, but it's not, it's definitely not what it was. That's for sure. So.
I've noticed that.
It does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does happen, so that it's, he knows it needed cleaned up too. And I think that's how most of our stuff's gonna go. I really do.
yeah, I believe that.
So we'll see. I mean, but that's, that's an example of, the guy coming down, knocked on the door, said, hey, this needs to happen. There's a complaint, it needs cleaned up, you don't have a permit. And he was.
Are they gonna ask who complained about me?
Do you have to give them the name? I think.
I don't think that's a good idea, just to be saying who complained.
It's a tough one, but I believe it's public record at that point in time.
I'd ask it though.
If we're gonna do a complaint based, the complaint, I think
has to.
you can't just operate on anonymous complaints.
Right.
That's
It has to be.
how this kind of stuff becomes weaponized by neighbors that just hate each other and they're just looking to cause trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
If,
So then can it be like the health officer made the complaint?
well, then it turns into, well, why is he picking on this person and not that
Well, he
person?
goes all around town looking.
Yeah.
So then it turns into full-time patrol.
Right.
Well,
So
if somebody makes a complaint, wouldn't we just keep a record of it internally? And I don't think it should be told to, the person that's complaining. I mean, I know people like,
I mean, if it turns into a court
neighbors.
case, I think we could probably shield it until it turns into a court case.
yeah,
How about numerous complaints?
I'll say it this way. I think the attorney will say the same on this because the state is the same way as a town would be. It's a public entity, even though it's a state level. They have to make every record if somebody calls in, they have to copy of what it is and who called it in, and it's public knowledge.
public
So
record, right?
the people who called in and complained about them up there, they called upstate, they said who was calling in. They have to, it's public knowledge.
So what if somebody does call in anonymously and just says, are we not gonna take it seriously?
No, I think, let's take Route 7, okay? And I've had people that don't live here and come in and say, how the hell do you allow what's going on there and there? And that's a complaint by somebody that's just passing through. But I mean, it's a legitimate complaint. The person's not seeing things.
Do we have
a mess.
to take that person's name and phone number?
Well, I don't know. But I mean, I just say numerous complaints. I mean, your neighbors are, BS about, but it's like we're doing with the thing over here with this complaint. All the neighbors are there complaining. They're all at the meeting there. And tomorrow night they'll all be here.
I kind of feel
Somebody's coming for a
that,
7 o'clock meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that, we should have the name of the person who's calling them in for the reason if it goes to the next step, then
Let me get,
if it goes to the next, I'll say if it goes to the step of going, if it goes to court, that level, we're going to have to, you could call them as a witness, so that they would be called in. So you would have to have a name, can't just, because not that I like doing this, but I've been in court and seen a lot of cases of that. But first things people will ask, or a judge will ask, like, if you had a complaint, who was that person? Because they don't want secondhand knowledge. They want the
I got you.
person that did it, so.
I'm just saying what I hear, that's all.
I think it should be there should be record on it for our safety too. There should be a record.
Can did we start at 6:30 today?
Six.
Oh, it's 6, we're moving up to, oh.
That's all right.
Sorry, Megan, I should have put a reminder in the email.
Yeah, I think so.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
All right.
What we're doing, we're just discussing.
Around.
Give us a stuff for the selectmen. Here, grab that paper.
Yeah, we're just coming up with
I read
ideas
We're
and
just trying to
suggestions for
brainstorming.
enforcement.
On how to enforce.
Enforcement.
Yeah, like what our steps will be like. So right now, the rough idea is you do like a first notice, like a mailer that's more informational,
Yeah.
like contact information, what's allowed at the transfer station, like that kind of stuff. Asking them, contact somebody at the town hall, please.
So that would be for people who are,
So we're thinking right now it's complaint based. So somebody calls in a complaint about a property. We send a note, we maybe send somebody out to kind of look, send a notice to the property owner, be like, hey, get back to us, like, here's some
now, so
information.
we've come back, then you were just saying that then the judge will ask who made the complaint.
We're not at that point.
No.
That's the
Right.
last.
But
My point is this, I mean, aren't Mike Gardner and whoever our new health officer, aren't they also going out and looking around? I mean, you were,
So, yeah, that was part of our discussion. Is it gonna be a complaint based process or are we gonna actively ask them to go out and patrol?
and you're saying no?
Then I think it has
too
to be
much?
a patrol.
Yeah, it's not.
what we're looking at,
I don't think it's appropriate. It should be complaint based.
I felt it should be complaint based because if we don't, we're gonna have we'll have just people running around and it'll be flooded with, everybody's gonna be running around saying, hey, this person, that lot, this one over here, this here. It's gonna get really confusing, I think, to do
People
that.
say you're picking on me or
Who's gonna make the complaints?
Right.
You designate a person in town with
'Cause I mean, if-
that role, and you're gonna have
Hate mail.
100 people in town doing it as well and saying, well, what about, did you notice this? Did you notice that?
And
Now you're doing your job, we're taxpayers are paying
That's
you
what
to
I-
do
that's
this.
what I
So
feel
it's like,
sad.
you know, that's like,
A
no.
lot of places.
So then if it's complaint based, who's gonna make the complaint?
And
You're waiting for someone to guess.
Whoever wants
You
to.
say
whoever
that
wants
they're
to.
going to be
10
basically
Really
outed.
bad situations and you're gonna get one complaint, 2 complaints. What about the rest?
Yeah, and what about if the judge wants to know who they are, who the complainant, whatever you
I
call it.
think at that point we
You're
would
way
have
down
to
the road.
provide it, but like
We're taking people to court over junk.
But how do they handle tip lines? You know,
Anonymous.
anonymous, right? But.
Would that be a good idea to have a tip line? Is that?
Maybe.
No, you gotta, yeah.
Somebody,
And that way
anybody that works for the town or any,
You actually,
could cruise by. If it's in your neighborhood, you just cruise.
Well, I mean,
Verify that
why does
tip.
it have to be in my name?
I'd like to hear what Tara has to say.
If I
about that.
see
Yeah.
15 bags of garbage in the back of a pickup, that are just sitting there
Well, it's got.
or sitting up leaning against the house, but it's not my neighbor.
Tara, let's watch you.
Hold on, everybody. Hold on.
so there is an opportunity to put something on the website where they can just click to file a complaint.
That's excellent. That would be,
Because it's the same with the road.
but I think it should be anonymous.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it could be anonymous.
I think that's,
So when
Because we-
you report a road, it's anonymous, a road
Well,
problem?
not usually because most people are willing to tell you.
Yeah.
Road issue, but it comes to my email and Joel's and we can set it up to go to whoever.
But at least if we have it, something through the website, we, at least we have a digital record of a complaint coming in.
Yes, yes.
It's not just, well, take our word for it, somebody complained.
Yeah. But
Well,
this
how
way.
how do we prove
This
that?
way, the future health officer and the zoning officer can sort through them and they know, they can say, well, yeah, I know about that one. We've already tried 3 times.
What if one person takes it upon themselves to be the town complainer
Well,
and the town tipster?
And that's what I was just talking about with the state guy up there.
Yeah.
That's what happened with him. He was down here for 13 different calls
Yeah.
around town. That somebody called.
Were they all valid?
So that's,
So I would have to say this then, if
I
if
don't
we,
know on the rest of them.
we're gonna have a ton of complaints. We're gonna have to actually follow through. We're gonna have to, because if we do selective enforcement, then it's gonna get thrown out in court. Because if you make a law, you can't just enforce it on some and not others.
Right. And that's why I kind of feel just as far as a complaint coming in, I think that complaint should be a valid complaint with somebody physically able to, gonna put their name to it and stuff, because you'll have that. That will slow down, I think, the people just running around wanting to complain about everybody.
I talked to a lot of inspectors, and like the fire marshal comes down from Rutland, and he'll come down for about 5 calls. And of course, the Board of Health, talk to him, complaints of this and that nature. So they're official people, they got a complaint. I seldom ask, they might ask me where somebody lives, and I'll tell them that, and a stranger in town, but I know they're inspectors and they have complaints. And,
So they have, with the person's
yeah,
name.
yeah, but they
the
don't
name
tell
of
me
the complaint?
offhand, but
Sure.
I want to know where this person lives and blah, blah, blah. And I know they're in town for maybe 5 inspections. And then the kid that just died living over there. Anyway, he was the person that sent them to me a lot of, and they live in a trail park or this park. And, so there are people that come to town and do inspect things off of complaints.
You can see this is quite a can of worms here.
Sure it is, but
It's like, and that's why we haven't gotten anywhere before this, really. I
I've done
think.
a lot of places. We're on the road here. I think we've got
Yeah, I
everybody
mean,
in the
we're
same
getting
page.
there now, yeah, but I mean,
Thanks to you.
The will is
But-
there, we just need to figure out the
it's hard
way.
to.
So that's what we're trying to do. That's why I think we're trying to keep it narrow focused on what
Yeah.
we're trying to enforce.
Yeah.
Could
But there are people come to
on
Pownell.
the tip line, could we ask them to leave their name and say we will, something?
Well, so right now I have-
We will not tell the.
So for stuff I'm gonna bring back to the board, one of the things I'm gonna ask is ask the lawyer, if a complaint comes in, do we require a name and contact info, or is anonymous gonna be okay?
Right, because if.
Because it's gonna come down to what we can use to enforce it legally.
That's what I was talking about.
Right, because
Yeah.
if anonymous is not enough, we should at least be able to tell the person that we will not tell your neighbor who did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, unless it goes to court, we have to do full disclosure.
He's gonna believe his neighbor told him anyway.
Yeah, most people
Well,
that get
yeah.
complained on are gonna think it was their
Somebody
neighbor.
don't like me.
Right, and that's what I'm talking about, is if you don't have that information, you're gonna go, and it goes as far as court.
Yeah.
You're gonna need that information, because they're gonna
I
want.
think, yeah, well, we should ask a lawyer about that.
You're gonna wanna know that.
In spite of your vast experience, you probably.
So let's say,
Want to ask a lawyer.
so let's say we have that issue solved, a complaint comes in. What is our next step?
Okay.
So the next step in my mind, and I'm open to suggestions, is somebody goes out and physically looks
Right.
and see if it's a valid complaint.
Right, and that would be,
Right.
so are we going to have a health officer in the?
Well,
future?
we kind of glossed over that in the beginning.
We're talking about whether it could be a health officer or zoning, or do we look at another position for somebody specifically for that?
But we're gonna get Tara, we get Tara to, what version of that down here? Call the town office, okay? No, she's the town.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, you're gonna need to change the zoning, the law, the.
So we
Wait,
will have.
let me finish.
Okay.
You're going to need to change the the ordinance because it says specifically the zoning administrator and the health officer.
So she can send them out. Listen to me.
No, I'm just saying, if we want to have a special position, we're gonna have to add that position into the ordinance.
So seeing as it's listed as those two positions, we don't change it, we leave it for those two. That's okay.
All right.
So-
I mean, there's never any money around for hiring new people. I can't.
There's plenty of money around.
Why not give the health officer more money than,
You're into another issue. You're into another issue. We got a place to call to somebody within the town office, okay?
yeah, okay.
Now, she's smart enough to know if the complaint's legitimate or not. She lives here. Let's give her some common sense. So she has two people she can talk to send them out. And like myself, no, but this is a local level.
Yeah.
And the local girl's gonna be kind of a nice person to talk to.
Yeah.
And she's gonna put the proper person in place to handle this in a manner that we're just discussing here. We have for the last hour. And
Right.
so the person that's complaining is gonna call the town office and say, I got it, this and that. How can you help me? And she's got a list of things to help. She's got all the people that she knows, and maybe it's something simple. She can direct the right person to it. And I think we're in a good place with her. As far as you're picking up the phone and you're talking to a person. Not like hold for 15 minutes, we appreciate your call and here's some music. This girl and another girl, the other girl, is equally Hannah. But you'll put the person in the right place. And if it looks real bad or dangerous, some of the trailer parks are dangerous. The state police or the rescue squad won't go into the Alta Trailer Park without accompanied by police, okay? So she knows all this. I think we're in a good spot at this point by having somebody at the town office, two people at the town office addressing complaints,
Okay.
okay?
So zoning and health officer enforced,
Tara-
call comes into Tara
You're
or
okay doing
Hannah,
that,
they
Phil?
send someone out to go look.
Right.
Zoning and health officer will verify.
Yeah.
Either one,
He won't
either or.
enforce, verify.
So maybe require them.
Health officer will bring it to the Board of Health. For the decision.
So you're not, the whole thing about going up to people and asking them to try to clean up the way you were describing.
Yeah, this is an action.
Wait, let me.
Well, that'd be a second step.
You- okay.
That's our second step.
And what about, has the select board discussed, having a truck available by any chance? That would.
No, we haven't got to that point.
Help.
So we
You know?
just barely passed it and now has to go through the process of going out for public notices or for the public hearings.
So I didn't hear, you passed it with leaving the flea market thing in it, or?
So there is a copy available on the website
Okay, great, okay.
and it's in the minutes as well, but I happen to have a copy of the language as it came back from the lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the original one we had.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of minor changes.
Okay.
So we have to do the public hearings, the two public hearings, then
Will you
depending on the input.
notify
and
us
then go
when
from
that
there.
happens, that public hearing?
Oh, yeah.
The public hearing is open to the public. It will be notified to the public.
But can you send
And
us a special email, thanks?
yeah,
So I do like the idea. I think that's going forward, like you're saying, call comes in. She's gonna say, hey, health officer or zoning, can one of you guys run out, look at it?
maybe take some pictures.
Maybe have some backup with you if you're going to the wrong place.
Right, if you go into a place like that.
Bad dog
See if the
or something
sheriff's
like
or the
that.
state can send somebody.
Wait, so take some pictures, is that, okay?
Pictures,
Is that okay to take pictures of people's
Sure,
houses?
Nelson Brown, I was gonna read the pictures.
you're doing it for
When you
evidence.
say
of
dangerous,
what
how
you're looking for.
dangerous are we talking here?
How dangerous?
Yeah.
Oh, were you gonna?
There's some places.
Well,
Yeah.
dangerous enough to where the paramedics call the state police to go escort them. So
really?
take that for
We got some bad places.
read into it however you
Depends
want.
what, if it's Saturday night or Monday morning, you know.
It's
kind of-
domestic dispute.
I mean, so basically I think that's a great process going forward with it.
But I think also.
One of the next steps is door to door. I think the same thing, going whoever health officer or zoning going to that step. If it's again, location,
I think
Officer.
that we have in the past talked about, as I said, the truck, some,
So we briefly touched on if the town has to, if it turns into the town having to take it over and do the cleanup, how would we go about it? Whether we
Yeah.
send out our own people or do we put it out for bid and maybe hire out a subcontractor or a refuse
it would
company
just
to do
be,
that?
it'd be, it's so often a question of having the transportation to get it to the dump.
Well, that's why the initial letter is going to be offering,
Kinda
like,
touched that.
contact us, maybe we can help.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it's a
Well, that's
friendly,
what
it's a
I'm saying.
friendly gesture, be like, hey, we notice you have a
But
problem.
they're just saying
call us.
maybe we can help, and we've got a lot of trucks over at the.
Yeah, but we want to be careful taking away from them.
I hear you, but
They
maybe
need
there's
work.
one crummy old one that don't.
But I also don't want to see this turn into, create a de facto
Right.
town refuse.
Right.
The town trash collection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if we do offer a handout, a helping hand to somebody, we're gonna have to have stipulations.
Maybe we could put a.
And you're gonna have to do that for every single
He's
person.
gonna say, how'd you get rid of that junk? Oh, I called this number and the town took it away.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah, that's,
Could
gotta be
you put a
careful.
time limit on that?
Right.
In the first year after the ordinance goes through for the, what's the,
Come on.
people like that.
You're
are-
trying to get perfect.
No.
You're gonna be perfect.
I know, and people who are warriors.
Hold on, guys, hold on.
Okay.
I think going forward, the suggestion that we had is maybe putting out to the bid. So I think that was what we should put towards the select board, is put out to a bid and see about getting a, just to see what it is, because we don't have to say yes to anything. We just
Yeah.
see what it
And
is.
then whatever the bill is, we attach it to the property.
What that would be, because that could potentially just be, hey, I got the money to get rid of it. I just don't have like you were saying, a means to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So if we have a contractor or somebody that can run around with a truck and give them that means,
So
there is a cost.
The bidder is only going to be able to give you a labor rate and
Whatever that is.
dumpster
Right.
rate.
Yeah,
That would be an RFP on it.
2 hours or all day long.
yeah, it would be a case by case basis.
Yeah, case by case.
And you can take it somewhere else. Maybe, I'll take the trash, but the guy's gonna give you something, he take this too, and it's valuable.
Right. Or could we potentially just put that out to a bid, one of cleanup and a two-part bid? One is cleanup of a location if we have to send them out to do it. The other one is your rates. They would win the best rate or whatever. That's the person the town will work with. They're on call. They can go out to help that person with that rate.
Okay, but.
So that might just be
Right.
that part or this
That'd be
part.
good.
If it's a cleanup from us or it's a cleanup. from
We've
them.
already screened these people and we vetted them, so to speak, and this is the best rate we can get.
Right.
Yeah,
It'll help
that
the
might,
community.
that might work, because if a person, he or she knew that they had steady work from the town, they might be willing to,
Right.
like.
Just a better rate to drive a truck around, pick it up for them.
For not steady work.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, because ultimately, the bill incurred by the town, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to assess it we're gonna have to put a lien on people's
Yeah,
property
yeah.
and a
Right.
tax bill.
so to try to avoid that.
This initial postcard that we send out can have the name of this company that can help clean
Yeah.
somebody's property up.
Yeah, I mean,
Now they have a source,
Right, a source. to
other
go-
than going to the dump themselves.
Right.
yeah,
They can call that number.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a good step for them. And that would fall right in there, after the initial door-to-door meeting. That we could, if they say, yes, I can clean it up, but I just can't do it yet. I don't have a truck or,
Yeah.
okay, we have this at your disposal.
There's a lot of information like online and stuff. AARP, for instance, had a great piece about, how to get kind of the psychological, like you were always saying, steps people can go through to get rid of stuff, So I'll try to dig that out and.
Well, I think a lot of that's going to be right in our first mailer.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to put in the
Put out a
mailer.
mailer or some idea of things to do, and we didn't do that, didn't do anything with that yet.
Don't keep it if you haven't worn it
Didn't
for
put
20
anything together.
years,
Did you guys put one together? Tara?
yeah.
Do you have like an information one? Because I know we're talking to,
Who are you looking at?
to the guys over at the dump, to Tara. Did we have anything like that where should we give the town all that information?
Yeah, there's some of that on the website, yeah.
Okay, so it is on the town site right now anyway, so that's a step going forward, so we could just say on a town site and then a mailer, go to that site, that would make it easier, so. So there is, the information's there now, which is good. So as enforcement, the only thing I don't think we touched on is the, unless that was already, Brian will know this. Did you guys put that was already in there for,
Enforcement?
for fining what the?
No, we left that blank because that's part of the discussion we wanted to have with everybody.
So what do we want to put, what would we
How
suggest
much
to
you're
put?
charging people?
Right, how much to charge if it goes that step?
Select board was gonna be the ones to decide on that. We
Well,
elected
we're just trying to throw something in.
We're not deciding it. By we, I mean the planning commission
Right.
and
Yeah,
DRB.
yeah.
We want suggestions. We're only 5 people. We want input from everybody.
Okay.
We don't want this to be like, we've crammed this down with no input from anybody. We
Right,
want
right.
input.
I mean, I say, my feeling is first fine, if it goes to a fine, first fine is a $100 fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
That's what I think.
That's
Hundred.
a good
300.
chunk.
100, then it would double the next fine or something like that.
Well,
Or would it be a curve?
My question would be, at what is the line we draw in the sand where it goes from, we're fining you, you're not doing it, to like, we've now had to hire a crew to go in and do it?
$500. If we find them up to $500 and they've never paid us and they've not.
They've made no
responded,
effort.
And they made no
I
effort.
think a set cap, maybe 500.
So after $500, we step in and we start cleaning.
What do you
Right,
think?
because you could keep going up to thousands and thousands.
No,
Yeah, because I don't want to see somebody become so buried that they end up with $10,000 worth
Right.
of fines.
That's ridiculous.
And they finally, especially on some of the smaller properties where maybe a mobile home, say, fine, take it
Right,
and walk away.
Yeah, right.
right.
Nobody
I
should
mean,
let it get to,
we had it passed.
nobody should let it get to the point where they're getting fined at all.
Right, it should not be.
If we're,
Yeah.
if we're doing it right, we're offering to help people.
I agree.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying all this about the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really
We
think we
don't want it
ought
to
to have.
get to the.
I want to push the helping people, but
Yeah.
at the tail end of that, we also, honestly,
They're not gonna
we
be-
need to
like I said, there's
have
gonna be
the
those that
enforcement
wanna test
behind
it.
it.
And if they test it, they get a diploma at the end.
Yeah.
But you know what though,
They
Fred,
wouldn't- they
there
wouldn't
are
price.
people and, there are neighborhoods or areas in this town and we know full well that those people have not cleaned up in 20 years, And we know that they're very
That doesn't, yeah.
oppositional about it and they want to thumb their nose at it.
As far as cleanup, we don't know if that's going to be legal yet, so we have to find out.
Yeah, that's a question we have to ask the lawyer, like,
If that we could legally.
statutorily, can we do something like that?
Right.
Because all that might be a moot point. We might not be able to.
Might not be able
It
to.
might be just, we issue fines and
Right.
go from there.
Right.
So we're-
To find out about that.
Yeah.
Right, so I would say, because this is going to drag on, so we got to be careful how long it's going to drag
So
on.
you're thinking $100 fine.
$100
At what
for a
point
fine?
in the notice step do we issue the first $100 fine? Because you got first notice, we're gonna do a mailing. Second, 2 weeks later, we send somebody to knock on the door. And maybe 2 more weeks after that.
I think after that, if there's no contact, should be the certified letter at that step,
Okay, yeah.
3.
So the first two steps have a contact.
That's contact
requirement.
only, right.
And the certified letter is
And
gonna
they can
say,
reset the process with each contact, is that, you know what I mean?
Well,
So the first 2 notices are your friendly, like the first one's your
That's-
friendly, hey, if you don't know what to do with your garbage, you can do this with it. Second one is like, hey, we contacted you. Third one is like, all right, you haven't responded. Here's your official notice. You have 30 days to clean it up or we start fining you.
right.
30 days?
what the fine will be.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we've already.
I mean, we could change the days on it, but 30,
So
We've got 2
30 on the
months.
letter.
yeah, so that gives somebody 2 months to start doing something. And if they haven't done anything by then, it's obviously don't
It's
intend.
obviously time to do
I
something.
think it's obvious.
And I think, but
Yes.
I don't think they even give them that much time.
What about one more?
Well, the attorney will probably clarify that. He could probably do 20 days on each one. I know it's going to be, I think it's going to be the max or the minimum is 20 days. I think that's
I
what
don't
it'll
know.
probably be.
I don't know.
But this might.
And I mean, we could whittle that down. You could do your first notice, your
Right.
friendly reminder.
2020.
The second notice, you could turn that into be like, okay, here's your second notice. You haven't contacted us. You now have 2 weeks or 30 days from this point.
Right.
If no progress is made, you will start getting fined.
Right. And you could say that on there, like I say, a second step, and then when you do third.
Yeah, I think we would have to actually detail all the
Yeah.
steps that will follow.
And a
Yeah.
certified letter could be a fine with it.
Yeah.
At that point.
This ordinance would be on the website, correct?
Yeah, it's gonna be
So it
posted
should
website in
have the
town hall.
fine amounts on it as well.
It will,
Oh, yeah,
Right, that's
it
what
will
we're
be, but I mean, I'm talking the actual communication we finally give.
with an individual.
Yo, Joe
But
Schmo.
what about, are we going to publish this in the banner as well? I mean, I think we should have an article on this in the banner, so, and.
yeah.
Well, just on the discussion part of it?
No, on the final result.
Oh, yeah, the final part of it will be all into the ordinance.
Yeah.
Like when we finally do the public hearings and all that, we'll be putting all this into that final draft.
No. What I'm saying is we should make a huge effort to educate people.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
God love you.
Through, like, again, through the.
And that's what we discussed that earlier, that we want to do the mailings.
Yeah,
You know, we
okay.
talked about putting flyers up, asking if the local store, you know, maybe we put stacks of flyers up. Tara suggested maybe she can have her son and other kids like do educational videos that we can post online. So we had a whole discussion of it before you arrived.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And that'll be the public information.
Yeah.
We'll get out.
Yeah, this isn't behind closed doors in the dark, like we're gonna sneak this out at midnight.
No, I'm just saying, actually, I was coming from a really idealistic hope that maybe some young crew would want to get a.
Where were you coming from?
I was thinking.
You go to Williamstown much?
I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could get some volunteers?
You go to Williamstown much?
Sure.
Sure you do. Before you get to Sinus Film, there's a shithole in the front porch, and the dog sitting out there in the background, and cars parked all over the place, and it's been there for 40 years, and it's Williamstown, Massachusetts. They think we can move quicker than Williamstown.
Yeah.
They laugh at us. Every time I drive by that place, I say, it's another place there. It's a tough thing when somebody's got rights.
I know it.
Well, no, I mean, why are we beating ourselves up when the best town in America can't get rid of these people? The car's parked on the road. It's been there all winter. It's on public property. There's garbage here, there's garbage there, and there's garbage there. And it's still there. Okay?
No, I hear you. I'm just saying,
Yeah, we're beating
I'm
ourselves
just
up.
saying, maybe we could put out a call for volunteers to help volunteer
put out a call.
groups.
You could absolutely throw it out there if somebody's willing to go down doing it.
That's all I'm saying. Throw that into the PR that we put out.
Yeah. That's,
Because, you know, and God knows, we tried with,
I will.
I'm Proud, and it's not easy to get people to volunteer.
I'll be happy to volunteer you to go and find people that will volunteer. And you can
Get involved here.
You can volunteer anybody you want.
All right, so as far as the $100 fine.
Yeah.
We do the $100 fine, say after 2 weeks, 30 days, doesn't matter whichever is the pleasure. But how often after that if no compliance? Are we doing it weekly?
If there's no compliance, I would do
daily,
weekly.
monthly?
I would do a weekly one.
Now you got a big problem anyhow, you know?
Yeah.
If they're not gonna comply after the $100 fine, they're gonna comply after a $300?
Well, this is why I asked, what is our threshold? And
I think going to a 500.
Megan suggested 500.
max.
So that's why I'm like, all right, are we doing weekly or monthly?
I was trying to, I threw that out, but I was wondering, is maybe that's too high? Maybe we don't want to go that high?
If they're that determined to fight it, they can spend it, all the money they got.
Yep.
I think
Don't have to take any pity on them
Right.
if they're that determined to fight it.
if you're willing to argue.
Yeah, because I mean,
You gotta win.
worst case scenario, this is somebody that's ignored every time we've tried to contact.
And somebody who doesn't even
Done
live in
nothing.
Pownell in many
Yeah.
cases.
So this is worst case scenario. This isn't, we're picking on the poor little lady on a fixed income who just needs help.
No.
You know,
This is slumlord landlord who's decided to run an
Who lives
illegal
in
dump in his front
Massachusetts?
So we
yard.
need to plan for this worst case
You
scenario?
need to be ready for
Oh,
worst
yeah,
case
we've already
scenario.
got worst case
It's better to
scenario.
plan for the worst and hope for the best.
the more I think about the timelines, the more I'm thinking I'd like to accelerate all of it. Instead of 2 weeks, 2 weeks. a
Yeah.
month. Get it done.
Yeah,
Offer and help.
Well, I think 2 weeks from the first,
Get your help.
I think 2 weeks from first and second notice is fair, but after that you accelerate.
Well, you got somebody working with you through the process. It takes some time, that's fine, but not every place is gonna take time.
Right.
Because the more time you offer, there's these people that are gonna try, they're gonna milk it, get away with it.
Yeah.
How far they can take it, how much they can get away with, so
And
just.
also, people.
The unfortunate part, you have to do what's gonna be legal
Don't
stuff.
get off.
I think it's gonna be 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Okay, how about after $100 fine, you send someone to knock on the door and say, we'll take away this $100 fine, provided you get something done. Give them another,
That doesn't
give them
always-
another chance.
I mean, that might incentivize a few people, but I would think if you've gotten to the
I
point
think
where
we
you're
get a
issuing fines, they've
reputation.
already made up their mind.
Right, or if,
Especially if they haven't reached out in
I
contact.
think most
Also,
people
we
get
get
a,
a reputation as being wishy-washy about it. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah,
I think,
whatever we decide, we need to
Enforce-
just stick with it.
once somebody gets a fine, they realize you're getting real. Most people probably go, okay, I need to clean this up and get.
Take it
this
off,
up.
Michelle?
Bye, Michelle.
No, I'm just going down. I'll be right back.
I thought you were waving.
I'll be back in a minute.
Let's hear you.
I think somebody getting a fine, we had we had a case where they got fined, some people got fined here in town. It was one of the first, it is the first fine, I think, that happened in this town, right?
Yeah.
They got fined quite a bit because they didn't follow through with what they were supposed to do. They finally came to the DRB. It came to us to go through it. We did reduce their fine. We cut it in half. But it was, they were getting fined because they just didn't want to cooperate. And then come in to say, well, we didn't know that it was doing that and this was what was going to happen, but they knew it was happening because they kept getting a fine. But we were nice and did reduce it to them. And we probably anytime we could probably say that,
We could do it.
we can help out.
I mean, yeah, we could put
need to-
wording in there
we
that
need to
says
do it.
if you're working with the town and visible progress is being
Right.
made,
Something
no
like that.
fines will be levied.
Right. But if we're trying to do is base it on somebody that doesn't, how far
Yeah,
do we go?
worst
with
case
somebody?
scenario.
And in my view, $100 fine, 100 every week till 500 max. And then at that point, hopefully, and that could change depending on.
$100 the first week and every week you double it.
Or you can do that.
That's a person not wanting to
Right.
cooperate.
Right.
And corporation never get there. You don't get to that point.
What's the timeline for discussions as far as the select board is concerned? We're discussing it now.
We're discussing it now. The next,
All of our thoughts
the
together.
next
tonight.
scheduled select board meeting is not until next Thursday, but I think there's going to be a special one called for other stuff this Thursday, but this won't be on there.
So-
So it'll be next Thursday, but I
Couple
don't know
weeks.
what's going to be on.
If we could continue this discussion the next
On the
time,
next meeting.
is that okay with the select board, do you think, or are they?
I think it'll be
looking to
fine.
move faster?
I think it'll be fine because we still
We still have meetings anyway.
schedule our public hearings and stuff.
I think-
I mean, me personally, I would like to have some of this stuff hammered out. So people are going to ask, well, how are you going to enforce it? I would like to have some kind of answer at the public hearing.
Yeah, that would be useful. You're right. That's a really good
Speaking
point.
for myself, we've hammered this tonight until I'm weary.
Oh, we're going to keep
We
going.
need to send back.
See that sun's still out? We're still going.
I just got here. I can talk all night.
When you first get on the planning board.
Tara's about ready to, how many times did Tara's pulling the ripcord on us? So, yeah, so I
Hold on. Let's just finish up on our fine part. $100 every week sound okay to people to a $500 max, or do you have something
I
different?
think that people are obviously not cooperating with you.
yeah.
I don't think you have to get to this, but if they want to play handball, then you let it go.
Do that. Is a 500 max, or should we go a little higher?
500 max,
So
yeah.
well,
I would say I would almost say, once you reach Once you've started doing the fines, at that point, I'd say if you've had to issue fines 2 weeks in a row and there's still no action, at that point, I say we start to take legal action, and that's where if we can, then it's like, all right, well then, we're not gonna let you rack up $10,000 worth.
Right.
Right, what's,
That's why I say
You're
$500,
$200 deep, guess what? Now we're calling in a subcontractor and we're gonna remove the garbage for you.
if that can happen.
And then you're gonna get a bill.
right,
If we can.
If that can't happen.
If we can't do that, then I guess you just let the fines stack up until they either comply or, well, the town now owns another piece of
Or do
property.
we take it to a step, do we set a limit where it was our
I think we.
attachment to the,
Like 500.
go to attachment?
They're gonna hire a lawyer, they're gonna get pay money to a lawyer.
Yeah, if they're gonna hire a lawyer, they're gonna hire a lawyer regardless.
Come
I
on.
think include somewhere in that process, either contact the landlord or contact the mortgage holder too.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
put that pressure on them too, because they don't want that.
Right.
A lot of it shouldn't be on land.
Well, if it goes to that step up
good,
there,
Fred.
it'd be that, if it goes to where you would have to.
Yeah, when we have to start attaching it to, putting a lien, then we have to
It's
notify
notified.
everybody that's on the deed essentially.
At some point, the language has to be put in front of their face.
Right.
That this could go to a lien, which would mean
Your landlord will be.
the landlord.
That could be
or
set with the
mortgage
fine.
holder would know.
You could send that easily with the fine,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen from that point on. You could just say, this is a fine, this is what'll happen, you'll get a fine every week, whatever it is.
And I know
to
in the
this
past
level,
with
and then
foreclosure
that
properties
could be
that
attached.
were like just absentee landlords, the banks.
Right.
Once you send them a notice, you're putting a lien on it, or if they don't clean it up. It's
Right.
amazing how quickly they send you
things
to
happen.
clean
Maybe
them
the
up.
landlord to find a truck.
Because it's hard to sell a property if the title search comes back as, oh, there's a municipal lien on it.
right.
That scares off potential buyers sometimes.
Sometimes, scare me.
Maybe the lower the price.
Yeah.
All right, so what I wanna do is, I wanna try to help move this along a little bit.
All right.
Yeah.
We can beat this up forever, but, we got a good idea. Let's run over and look at that. Think about it. We'll come back to the next meeting in 2 weeks here. And we'll do the same thing again. We'll just kind of hammer out some more of that just to verify that we got it all in
When's the next DRB meeting?
tomorrow.
You guys want to bring it up there?
No,
Get input from them?
no.
No, it's good.
Probably not at that one.
Okay.
Only because
I know you got the other stuff going on.
we have something bigger there.
Okay, not a problem.
I don't think Matt will want to do that then, but, the following one we could do, it's just, we could do it on the DRB too. I was gonna say Tara maybe can mention it to him and see. Oh, you can't because you already warned that anyway.
Yeah, I would just do,
Yeah, I'll mention it to Matt too to
yeah.
do it for the next 2 weeks out.
But we won't meet again as a planning commission for another month. Do we want to try to have a special
Oh,
meeting?
why is that?
I don't know, is it? When's the next?
No, we can have 2 weeks.
First and third.
We can go
First
first
and
and third week.
All right, I don't know if I'll be in town for that one. End of next week, I leave for a week and a half.
Another vacation? Come
Hey,
on.
man, I suffered through 9 months of no time off to bank my time for the
How
summer.
many vacations do I get my first year up there?
You get 2 weeks.
2 weeks, all right.
2 weeks, 5 sick days, 13 paid holidays.
All right, so think about that, go over it, what we've discussed here. You could probably get a letter once it's all
I'm out of
gets all the
town
minutes out,
13th through the
send out to you or
21st, just so you
something.
know.
What is it?
I'm out of town from the
17th.
13th through the 21st, just so you know. I don't care if you schedule stuff without me, I'm just saying those 2 days I'm gone.
So we're at, yeah, it would have been a 16th.
Won't be the first meeting,
By all
know.
means, discuss it.
Are we meeting?
Yeah.
Maybe on the
You
20th?
can get a copy. of
If,
it.
I'll be on a cruise, so I can't even Zoom.
Oh, no problem. We already got the
You
basic.
can live without it.
Okay.
That's
Yeah, so
are we
so-
meeting on the 16th?
The 16th, right?
16th will be the next meeting.
At 6 PM.
It's
6 PM, Megan.
6 PM.
6 PM.
I got it. It's in the, okay.
6 PM now?
All right, so, think about that. We
Yeah, if
can
anybody has any other ideas or want to come up with a different structure,
write them down, bring it back
Bring it
in
in.
on the 16th and we'll go over that again. So I want to go to the municipal planning grant discussion. We had a meeting for the, and I just want to inform people that weren't here, for Michelle and stuff too. We had a discussion with BCRC and it was, they basically are going to lay out, they're going to start looking at locations. They said basically it's 10% of the town for area is what they're gonna look at. And then they're gonna come back to us when they're gonna lay out maps and they're gonna start doing it at that level, and they'll bring that back to us to see what our thoughts are on those locations. We don't need to really do a ton of stuff on it, but if anybody has anything else you want to throw in about locations or anything like that, bring that, or, just get a list of things that you might want, or something you come across and go, this could be a location, because we could throw that back at the BCRC. And then we'll have more discussion. As soon as we hear back from them, we're going to get more discussion on that. It won't be, I know they won't be back here this month, so probably next month or so. By the time they get their stuff
Yeah,
together.
because I think they said right in their notice that this is going to be a lengthy process.
Right,
Like
yeah, so-
2023.
I think
Yeah.
you're gonna be their contact person, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, so anything comes back, she's instantly gets it, so.
okay.
And if she ever tells us about it. So, but I just wanted to inform everybody that that's what it was, anybody that wasn't here, so. And we'll have, I think, that's already in them, we did minutes on that anyway, so everybody should have a copy of that.
Well, now that Megan's here, is it legal for us to revisit the minutes that you had to stop? Because
Yes, we could.
That's right.
Yes.
We do that under old business?
Could we,
I think that would fall under old business.
we could do that under that.
Do that right
Old
now.
business, we'll go, with old business, we're gonna go back to our, let me find it here, let me find it.
June 7th meeting?
June 7th, no, it was June 19th.
Oh,
We did the June 7th one.
okay, that's right, you're right. Yeah, 19th.
June 19th, or July 19th of 2020 minutes. Do you have a copy of those?
Not right on the
Or you could take.
Let's skim through them real fast. I think I already looked at them last week.
So we needed 4 people. Now that we have 4 here, which will be Michelle. Oh, no, Michelle was out. So it's,
Megan?
Yes.
so it'll be Megan, myself, Fred,
And Stacy.
and Stacy. So there'll be the 4 of us that'll be voting on it.
Okay.
If it looks okay, then look for a
I
motion.
move that we accept those minutes of July 19th.
Second.
As-
Fred's a second, okay, and we'll vote around. Fred
Fred, yes?
Stacy, yes?
Megan, yes.
and John is a yes.
Guess we-
Anybody
I
else?
abstain. Brian abstained.
Michelle, you can abstain.
Yeah, I don't think she was.
Abstain.
Yeah, thank you.
Jimmy and Brian. Okay,
Very good.
so that's that. And if we have, then we moving on. Do we have any other old business? Anything else? Nothing? Okay. Then we're moving on to public comment. Is there anybody for public comment?
I don't see anybody, there's just a lot of stuff. I don't know who that is, but they're not raising their hands, so.
Okay,
We don't have any hands.
Oh, I know that. It's-
all right.
Okay.
Yeah, for Zoom, you can put in anything you want for what you want to be called.
They've joined before, it's.
Yeah, they have.
I've seen before, but I.
Yeah.
Okay,
Raise a hand, so.
they're not raising their hand now, so, okay, we'll move on.
Maybe.
So.
Then look at,
Beautiful.
look, then we'll move to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
And round table,
Fred, yes?
Stacy, yes?
Megan, yes.
Michelle,
Ready to adjourn?
Oh, yes.
She waffled on that.
Yes.
Brian, yes.
and John, yes. All right,
Thank you, everybody.
you say have a good night.
So you said,
Aye.